Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Accessing Green Finance for Green Buildings in Europe. I am Rusmir Music, and I am the Global Business Development Lead for the EDGE program. I am pleased to be joined by a fantastic guest speaker, Milena Milosavljevic, ProCredit Holding Group Environmental Management. Since we are both hailing from the Balkan countries, I can also say Dobar dan to you all. There are many of you online today, though you will only see the panelists in the chat module. A few logistics notes about this webinar. This webinar is being recorded. Materials will be shared in a few hours once the system generates the recording. During the webinar, please use the Q&A feature to ask questions. You can submit questions at any point during the webinar, as we're leaving plenty of time at the end for answers. At the end of the presentation, before we turn to questions, we'll ask you to fill out our feedback survey, which helps us improve our delivery. I'm so pleased that this webinar is co-promoted by a number of leading institutions in building space, including a coalition of green building councils representing Bulgaria, Croatia, Finland, Hungary, Poland, and Serbia. We're also joined by our two global certifiers, GBCI and Sintali SGS. And special thanks goes to our colleagues from the International Capital Markets Association for making the link between green buildings and green finance. This co-sponsorship shows how important this topic is to everyone. Our agenda today includes several main sections. After I introduce IFC, we will look into the market for green buildings, including estimating the investment opportunity and the business case for both investors and developers. We will then look into green building definitions and illustrate that with an EDGE software demo and certification process. IFC has been collecting a lot of lessons learned on how to create a green real estate investment program, and we will walk you through additional resources after that. We will show these through case studies of investors, developers, and governments from around the world, and at the end, there will be time for Q&A, but as I said, you can ask your questions at any point. Before I start, let me introduce IFC. We are a member of the World Bank Group focused on investments in the private sector. IFC's Green Building Program is a systematic approach to sustainable buildings. It is a four-part strategy that includes working with banks, investing directly into the building sector, advising governments on green building codes and incentives, and our EDGE certification program. As you can see, we have been very successful in this space, including almost $6.4 billion USD in investments and 17 million meter squares of certified space. If you have not heard about us in Europe, though, it's only because we have just started our expansion into industrialized countries. Let me give you an example of IFC's work through the case study of South Africa. IFC invested in IHS, a large equity investor in South Africa's affordable market segment. They used EDGE to minimize incremental costs for green and optimize utility savings for their buyers. IFC's local partnerships inspired other developers to take action. Baldwin Properties announced in May of last year that they will be certifying over 16,000 units in 10 projects to be built over the next few years. This then led to action by the financial markets. ABSA, one of the largest banks in South Africa, announced a partnership with Baldwin for an eco-home green mortgages investment product. These types of programs can be replicated in your market. Even countries with sophisticated green buildings programs may have pockets that need additional help, such as affordable housing or retrofits. Our EDGE program can help. The good news is that both lenders and developers are creating innovative financial products for green buildings, and they are finding a strong business case in this sector. In construction, developers and building owners are finding that greening a project allows access into international green finance flows and many other benefits, which we will cover. IFC has been working with banks to launch green mortgages, and we're helping clients to access capital markets through green bonds, green loans, and other new structures such as REITs. In addition to the quick case studies you see here and throughout the presentation, we will hear directly from ProCredit about their experience in Europe and abroad. Let's now turn to understanding the market for green buildings. IFC is documenting the business case for green buildings across the value chain of stakeholders, including benefits such as lower incremental costs than previously thought, faster sales, higher rental prices or occupancy rates, and opportunity to gain cheaper financing from investors committed to ESG action. We share these in our flagship Green Buildings paper and throughout the case studies on our website and the ones that you'll see today. When we send you a copy of this presentation shortly after the webinar, you'll be able to find these resources dedicated to your needs. They're already available from the EDGE website at edgebuildings.com. In the residential space, IFC has shown that the incremental cost of green construction is far less than previously understood. It can be as little as 1% of total construction costs. This small investment quickly translates to quicker sales, resulting from documented utility savings, marketing executed by IFC in connection to the World Bank Group brand, and our ability to issue the EDGE certificate to every single residential unit. In the commercial space, one great example is the Schwartz Group, which owns Kaufland and Lidl retail stores. EDGE assessment of Kaufland stores in Bulgaria identified 2.4 million USD in annual savings from avoided utility costs. Schwartz certified all 50 of its Kaufland stores in Bulgaria and is now promoting that certification. Now, Lidl is certifying its logistics centers in Latvia, one of the most modern and efficient logistics centers in the Baltics, and you'll get a link to their promotional YouTube video. IFC has many case studies in specific subsectors launched in partnership with our partners. Here is a quick preview of our work in hotels described in the Business Case for Sustainable Hotels paper, which IFC published in collaboration with the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, and which we followed up through with extensive training executed through the UN World Tourism Organization. We have resources for other sectors as well. And in the case of governments, we see actions by both federal government and local municipalities. In the example here from Lima, the government allowed a height bonus for green certified buildings. In this scenario, everyone wins. Developers get more apartments built on the same plot of land, and the government takes in more real estate taxes without overburdening its utility providers. All these benefits are leading to an incredible investment opportunity. IFC has done a mapping of finance potential and found it to be a staggering 24 trillion USD globally. That's because the pace of construction in most emerging markets is incredible. An equivalent of Paris is added every 5 days. In Europe, the opportunity is 880 billion USD, and this figure does not even include estimates on retrofits. We have case studies of investors such as Bancolombia, a bank in Latin America, which has rolled out a 400 million USD green real estate program. This program was financed by a pair of green bonds, which has enabled the bank to access better financing and a wider range of investors. You will hear from our partner ProCredit about their work in just a little bit. Certifying your building also means accessing investment platforms that bring a number of investors under one roof. WDP is a Belgium-based REIT, which launched a green loan with IFC for logistics properties in Romania. This was a 750 million euro financing program, around 800 million USD, where standardizing the framework under the EDGE certificate enabled multiple investors to participate. These are just a few examples, many more available in our Green Buildings paper. After looking at these case studies, let's take a step back and define exactly what we mean by a green building. IFC created EDGE in part to answer the need for a common definition of a green building that would connect investors, developers, buyers, and regulators. International green building definitions agree that a building must obtain a local or international standard of green building certification as verified by an independent third party. It is not enough to self-declare the building has met a standard. It has to be certified by a reputable certification system. The building also needs to be at least 20% more resource efficient than a comparable baseline building in the local market. Finally, in order to satisfy green finance requirements, projects must have quantified impact reporting on an individual basis as well as on a portfolio basis. Notice here, we don't say that the required system is EDGE. The building can be certified by other international standards as well. We just think that EDGE has a tremendous offer tailored for emerging markets. The benefits is that 100% of new finance or even refinance can be counted as green, and this would appeal to multiple institutional investors and other lenders. EDGE is aligned with international green finance criteria, including investor-oriented associations such as the International Capital Markets Association, which again, we're very grateful to for their co-promotion, and the Climate Bonds Initiative, with whom we had partnered before. We also work with real estate bodies such as GRES and disclosure platforms such as CDP. And we're now collaborating with the EU taxonomy, as we believe our quantitative approach very nicely meets their 20% efficiency threshold. Why is this definition important? As I keep saying, it allows our clients to access important sources of green finance. There are trillions of dollars pledged to green projects by institutional investors and banks with environmental commitments. They're looking for quality green projects, and EDGE can be your path toward green. I already mentioned Bancolombia, which told us they were able to attract better financing and more investors for their program. Acorn, a developer in Kenya, launched a first green bond in the country and took it all the way to the London Stock Exchange after they realized compliance with the EDGE standard plugged them into these international green finance flows. And EDGE allows for refinance of your debt through banks that have strong environmental commitments, such as, for example, HSBC. We have many case studies in our Green Buildings paper and on our website. So now you may ask, how will you recognize a building as green? How will your clients know how to design a green building? And how will end buyers, whether homeowners or commercial tenants, recognize the value of a green building? We believe the solution is EDGE, which stands for Excellence in Design for Greater Efficiencies. EDGE is an innovation of IFC. That means that while we administer the program, IFC is not the ultimate provider of certifications nor of technical assistance. We'll show you how to access relevant resources in your country. EDGE consists of 3 components. First, we have a free software that allows for opportunity for self-assessment. We're able to launch the software for free due to the generosity of our government donors, many from Europe. The ability for self-assessment is a game changer. Building developers or owners now can know right away whether they meet the green criteria, how much more they need to go, and find the most cost-effective ways to reach the EDGE standard. Second, EDGE integrates environmental impact data with financial data. This is because EDGE was the first system designed by a bank. IFC is first and foremost an investment bank. You can now understand your upfront costs and how quickly you can pay it back. And third, EDGE is a certification system to verify and reward green building projects through a green label. As I mentioned, the label has been already accepted by leading standard-setting institutions in the green finance and green disclosure space. The EDGE software is the first of its kind in the world, and the complexity of the application is hidden behind the user interface. The software is available for both new and existing buildings, as well as refurbishments, and across all sectors. With the launch of our version 3, EDGE is now a fully global tool available in any country. Our website has many case studies, both in Europe and globally, which can be used for promotion and proof of concept. Again, you can access these at any point to see how your peers, or if you're an investment institution, how your clients may have been solving this problem already. EDGE is laser focused on 3 categories of efficiency: energy, water, and materials. EDGE has a lot of data that defines baselines for these 3 categories that are location specific and sector specific. Within sectors, we also have differentiation for socioeconomics. We know that a residential project in Poland is going to have a very different baseline than a hotel project in Greece. And in Greece, a 2-star city hotel will be very different from a 5-star resort on the coast. The EDGE methodology is publicly available on our website. We also did a technical webinar with the Climate Bonds Initiative, which we also share when you receive the presentation. Both are available on our website and our YouTube channel. In the EDGE version 3 we just launched, the baseline has been updated to recognize strategies that have now become business as usual, such as, for example, LED lighting. And in Europe, we have definitely included all of the different pieces around government regulations already in the baseline. All EDGE certified projects protect natural resources and save on operational expenses. EDGE's advanced and zero carbon are opportunities for builders to aspire to even higher levels of certification. EDGE supports the ambitions of Architecture 2030 and the World Green Building Council for new buildings to be zero carbon by 2030 and all buildings to be zero carbon by 2050. And our colleagues at Architecture 2030 believe that this process needs to be even sooner, by 2040. We recently did an in-depth education for our zero carbon standard, and ProCredit will talk about their experience with zero carbon. If your project meets or exceeds the standard, it can be certified for a modest fee. Each certificate lists the percentage savings and the measures utilized to achieve the green savings. EDGE certification helps to communicate these benefits among investors, developers, and end users. The certificate verifies the claim and serves as a common language. This greatly simplifies your compliance costs. In this way, a financial institution doesn't need to introduce new due diligence, can simply recognize this green building on its books. When it comes to residential projects, each unit receives its own green certificate, which can then be used for green mortgages. Certification also reduces reputational risk, as it is the only verifiable way to communicate value between all the stakeholders in the construction value chain. We'll now proceed to a live demonstration of the EDGE software, which you can find as a recap on our YouTube channel. The EDGE software is available from our website, edgebuildings.com. I'm going to open up here for the EDGE app, which will open up a new window for me. You can see that EDGE is available in multiple languages, mostly for around the world, but French is available for Europe. Our EDGE version 3 is available here, but because it's still in beta testing, I'm going to keep using the current version, EDGE 2.15, until March. And after that, EDGE version 3 will become a default version. I have already pre-populated information for an office building in Romania. I am designing a new building, but I will also show you how EDGE can be used to assess an existing building with retrofit options. I'm using default values selected by EDGE, but you will be able to later override these with your building-specific information. The EDGE software is calculating my building's energy and water footprint and translating this into base case utility costs, right here. As I select my green measures, I'm watching how my incremental cost compares to my utility savings. If I want to open up a different unit, I can open up a different part of EDGE. And in version 3, doing this together with multiple sub-projects under one tab is going to become even easier. I've already started playing with some of my materials to cut on time, so I'll open up the water tab. You can see that the base case is broken up here, and my improved case, which I've already selected a little bit, is broken up here. I can see that I am reducing my water faucets, and that's because all of the information in EDGE is color-coded. As I continue to click my options, Edge will calculate my water savings. I can watch my percentage savings grow. I'm getting a little boost in the energy as well. But the main part that I'm watching here is that for every single of these measures, Edge is calculating incremental costs for implementation, utility cost reduction, as well as the payback period. And I can do this on a measure by measure basis, as well as on a total basis. If I'm not sure what any one measure means, I can get a short user guide. So I will open up here. This is the short user guide for information. And if I need more info, I will open up here to the entire user guide. And here, you're going to see a lot more information around methodology, potential strategies, what the baseline is, what the assumptions are, and what the compliance process is. So in addition to our standalone methodology guide, the user guide is going to have a lot more information as well. When I'm ready to certify my project, I'm going to also be doing it right here in the Edge website. I will upload my documents right here. And you can see that the user interface is going to change for me based on the information I need. This will be different for building being designed versus building being visited for post-construction. And this user interface is going to change for different measures. I've reached my water standard, and I'm going to show you how materials work next. Materials section is a little bit different than both water and energy, and has pull-down menus instead of a click and unclick standard. In a tall office tower, I chose substitutes for my materials here in floor slabs, roof construction, and internal walls. And then when I get to the part, if I'm doing an existing building, I can actually do a reuse of existing floor slab of materials, and that can get me to my Edge standard as well. And we'll show that in just a second. So I have now reached water and materials, and I'm going to take a look at the energy section. Here, I already started doing some work. I've looked at lighting and other mechanical sections, and I can keep going. Insulation of roof, insulation of external walls, and maybe I'll make my reduced window to wall ratio. Because we know that in even though the fad is for glass office towers, reducing the windows may actually be very, very energy conducive. And I can do that for different facades here. I have reached the Edge 20% cutoff for energy, water, and materials, and I could certify this project under the Edge standard. However, I want to go further and reach zero carbon, so let's keep going. I'm going to take a look at external shading device, reflective paint. I'm going to take a look at better air conditioning. Oops, there we go. Maybe I can do a part of my work with solar PV on-site at 25%. And you can see that this project now reaches the Edge Advanced standard. We have reached the 40% cutoff, and a new tab has opened to help me go further, because we know that not all measures can be met on-site for zero carbon. We may have to go into procurement of renewable energy off-site, and I can do that here. And if I had some sort of heating or gas for cooking, I could have also offset those here through carbon offsets. This project is now zero carbon and could actually be certified by the zero carbon standard. By Milena, we'll talk to you more about that process, and we have a lot more training on the zero carbon process. Let's turn back to our PowerPoint to see exactly how certification works and how all of this can be put together. First, I showed you how to do a new building in the Edge app. And this is the process for an existing building or retrofits. A little bit easier to show it in the PowerPoint. Step 1, instead of Edge defaults, you need to model the building as is. Notice that in this example, the building is 15% worse than the local baseline. So in step 2, you need to incorporate retrofits that get you past the baseline for 20% improvement over a new building. That's a key factor. So this building is 23% better than the baseline, but it is 38% better than its original condition. Finally, in step 3, in the materials section, you choose the reuse of materials, and you should be able to reach the EDGE standard. We have more standalone education on how to process existing buildings, but I wanted to show you quickly how what the option is for this process. Here's a look at the EDGE certification flow. Projects receive a preliminary EDGE certificate at the design stage and final EDGE certification at the post-construction stage. The post-construction certificate is considered an asset certification and does not need to be renewed. However, the zero carbon certificate is an operational certificate, and that needs to be renewed periodically. The cost of EDGE Advanced certification is about $10,000 US. That's a one-time fee, and in many cases includes even free technical assistance. The cost of renewing the zero carbon certification is only $500 USD, as it's a much simpler compliance process. More detailed instruction is available on our certified pages. We're now going to turn over to Milena, and she will illustrate these processes through the case study of ProCredit. So Milena, you can go ahead and turn on your video because you've already done that, and I'm going to make you a presenter right now.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear and see my slides.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosmir, for hosting us today. Dobar dan to everyone who is coming from Balkan countries as well. My name is Milena Milosavljević. I'm renewable energy and green finance expert, and I will talk today on behalf of Group Environmental Management of ProCredit. I will talk about our efforts, both of our own buildings and external activities that we have in green buildings. For some of you that might not know us, ProCredit Group is a group of the banks that operates in Southeastern, Eastern Europe, South America, and with headquarters in Germany. We are focused on small and medium enterprises, as we believe that those companies are making the backbone of the economies in countries of our operation, as well as the growth of the economy. We support as well private individuals, those ones that are having capacity to save, as we also promote rather saving than consumerism. From the other side, we have in the shareholder structure both private and public entities. From the private side, we have Zeitinger Invest, that is actually one of our founders. Then we have KfW, German Development Bank, Dun, Holland Investment Fund, IFC, part of World Bank Group, as well as ProCredit staff, as we believe that we are together making this impact. This interesting combination of the shareholder structures in private and public sector allowed us actually to put in our strategy the biggest focus on sustainable development to integrate high environmental social standards in our daily operations. I will talk about that on the next slide more. Actually, ProCredit, since its foundation, was so to say fostering the sustainable development. But recently we also committed and published out the efforts for adopting the Sustainable Development Goals. I will not go through all of them that is presented here, but I would like to also mention that recently we become part of, we become signatory of Principles of Responsible Banking by United Nations, and by doing so we would like actually also to, by having the partnership actually to work more on carbon resilient future together. To do so, to have these adopted sustainable development goals, it's not an easy job. How we did that in last of the decade, we have set environmental management system in our bank. This system allowed us to comprehensively look into our internal activities, in our internal impact, as well as to look on the impact of our clients and to promote more green development. This system has been certified by EMAS and ISO standards in all of our subsidiaries. From the other side, we have been ranked by different ESG rating systems among the leaders in implementing and managing environmental, social, and governance in our operations. We have set ourselves very ambitious goals for the midterm targets to have 20% of our loans as green loans in countries of our operation. We are very proud today to say that we come closer to achieving this goal, and we would like to further continue. From the other side, we also set the goal to become carbon neutral as an institution. How we plan to do that is actually by investing a lot in energy savings, in sustainable transport, in electric cars, in own solar renewable energy production, as well as other resource efficiency measures. We are actually, by doing so, actually become very close to achieving this goal as well. Lastly, but not the least, we have put ourselves the commitment to maintain and further increase the high level of social and environmental competence among our staff, because we think that those goals could not be achieved without high knowledge of our colleagues. We do that by providing the comprehensive trainings to both back office and front office staff that are dealing with the clients. When it comes to EDGE, as I said, we have been investing a lot in past decade in our own building stock, in our own head offices and new branches that we are opening. We used to say that whatever we would like to promote to our clients, we first want to test on ourselves, to do in our yard, and then to promote to external world, then to, so to say, promote to others and encourage others to follow us. So basically, we have up to now certified 3 of our head offices in Europe, and we have in pipeline even more of them. First head office that was certified, it was ProCredit Bank North Macedonia, and this building has already achieved advanced status. This means that the building achieved 70% more than energy savings, more than the baseline. And this is high achievement for one of the buildings that we have. Following by that example, we have ProCredit Bank Georgia with its head office that has recently been also certified with EDGE advanced status. The building has achieved more than 40% of energy savings, and I need to say that this is additional effort of our colleagues to certify the buildings in the country where the energy efficiency code and energy code as well for the buildings do not exist. Lastly, and maybe probably one of the proudest buildings that we have in these terms, it's actually first zero carbon building that we have in Europe. It's the head office of ProCredit Bank Bulgaria. Among a lot of measures that are tackling the energy efficiency, the bank has invested in a solar power plant for the self-consumption, as well as purchased additionally renewable energy electricity for the rest of the needs that couldn't be produced on site. So by doing so, we would like also, as I said, to promote to external world and to encourage others to follow us. And I would like to talk about that on the next slide. Basically, by certifying our own buildings, we have built our internal know-how. Actually, since I mentioned that we have environmental management system in our banks, this means that we have special teams or green teams in our banks that consist also of the technical experts and engineers in the banks. One of it is as well EDGE expert certified. We have colleague in Ecuador, and basically in Ecuador we have one of the biggest portfolio in green buildings. One of the contributors is for sure the internal know-how. Following by that, I need to say that certification process is basically done together with know-how, but as well with the smooth process. How we would like to do that is actually by working together with certification companies, such as consortium of SGS and Citali, where we together develop the process of certification that can be smooth and achievable for our clients. Then, most importantly, is probably to actually explain to our clients what are the benefits of this certification. I would like again to say about our own benefits and then to share this with our clients. For sure, having a green building is the most important is that you have energy savings and cost of and reduction of the cost. Then, followed by that, you have also higher value of the asset of the building, as well as external recognition of the green building with EDGE standard. What for us mean EDGE and why we choose EDGE among the other standards that exist are different reasons. One of the first reasons is maybe that Rosmir has already mentioned, is that EDGE allow you to do without a cost pre-self-assessment. So basically we could see if our building could pass the EDGE standard by checking it in very user-friendly application. Then we can also see what measures we can implement more to become better. And this allowed us actually to increase efficiency of our buildings. Lastly, we can also say that it's important that this tool can be on, again, user-friendly way used for the existing stock and not only for the new buildings that is mostly situation with other standards. So we used to promote that and to say that also to our clients when we talk about this topic. And we were doing that by organizing client workshops together with IFC and consortium of SGS and Citali. Last workshops that we have organized were in Kosovo. And again, I think organizing the workshop in countries like Kosovo and Georgia, where we are planning to do the next one, is actually a step further. As I said, those countries don't have yet energy efficiency code and standards, and therefore this is actually making a step further for the country as well, not only for our clients and our own buildings. By doing all of those, we believe that we are creating the pathway to create a carbon resilient future together with our clients. I hope so, that this will encourage you to follow our step. And if you want to know more about us and our impact, you can read that on our website in Impact Report or contact us directly. And we would be happy to support, greening the buildings together. Thank you, Rasmir, again for hosting us.
Thank you, Milena. Well, it's a great presentation, and there's a lot more information, including our discovery workshop that we have done for Kosovo. So actually we'll be able to look at that as well. Let me see, I just need to make myself back into presenter. And I'll start talking. There were a couple of very interesting questions that have came through as Milena was speaking, and maybe I can answer those before we move on to additional resources that are available from IFC. One of the questions was on the alignment with the EU taxonomy, and I think this is, we can put back the information from our retrofit project, and I think we can show you the information there. So in the EU taxonomy, at least my understanding of the process is that the EU taxonomy requires for new buildings a 20% improvement over the local baseline. And for retrofits, it is a 30% improvement over the baseline of the building itself. It's important to remember that in EDGE, our standard is 20% improvement over the baseline. So even an existing building would need to be 20% better than a new building coming online next to it. So as I mentioned, in this particular example, this building was 23% better than the baseline, but it was 38 baseline of other buildings, I should say, but it was 38% better than its own baseline because its journey was 15% to meet the new buildings and 20% to meet to go past that particular measure. So I think that's important to know when we come to how we define our own standard. Another question was around costs, and there were actually two questions that came that way. First was, is there a cost for preliminary certificate? I should have clarified that the cost, the all-in cost for certification for EDGE is $10,000. So you would pay this upfront, you would get both the design and the post-construction certificate all at once. Some projects can skip the design certificate, go straight into the post-construction, but our certifiers typically still look at some of the design elements because they want to make sure that we don't have to, send somebody and do the post-construction certification, for nothing if the building is not going to reach the standard. We actually do have remote audit capability. This is one of our COVID innovations, if you will. And so in countries where it's not possible to travel, where it's not possible to do an on-site visit, we actually do have remote capabilities too. So those are the two questions that came while Milena was speaking, and I'm again happy to answer more as they come around. But I will now turn over to additional resources from IFC. We have done a lot of thinking around steps needed to launch a green real estate program, whether you are a developer or a financier. and our team can walk you through these steps in depth, from education and incentives to technical expertise to impact reporting. Our team can show you how EDGE simplifies the issuance process for a green bond or a green loan. And I mentioned that we already have excellent collaboration with International Capital Markets Association and the Climate Bonds Initiative in this space, and we are sharing these trainings on our EDGE YouTube. We have a mapping of all the banks that are providing incentives in this space, and we can walk you, if you're an investor client, on how you can repeat the same. There's a lot of leadership coming out of Latin America, and then ProCredit is currently our lone participant in Europe, but we want to work with all of you to keep that going. You heard from Elena that partnering with EDGE, putting in some education and some of these technical assistance, if not on the lowering the interest rate, is really going to boost the number of projects in your portfolio. For government clients, we can walk you through the example of both fiscal and non-fiscal incentives offered by various governments. If you're a Green Building Council listening, this can be something that you do as a lobbying body with the government. We can show you how you can adopt similar measures in your jurisdiction. I already showed you the example of Lima, Peru, where government increased the height bonus ratio, resulting in a huge benefit to developers. In places like Indonesia, they're lowering the loan to value ratio. This is for mortgages. So this was an act by the central bank, which means that if you're buying a green home, you don't need to put 15% anymore. You only need to put down 10%. Huge process to open up the market to new buyers. In places like Ghana, we have lower permitting fees, and they can be done also as faster permitting. All of these things are a huge benefit to developers, and it may not cost the government nothing in the end. We also have thought through many technical assistance options. These include in-house expertise and hired EDGE experts who are accredited by IFC. If you are an IFC investment client, we have an option for IFC advisory assistance. One of the questions came through asking, would the EDGE certification help with IFC financing? My answer would be not just EDGE certification, but really any international green certification is pretty much the cost of entry. Most development finance institutions and other multilateral development banks, EBRD, EIB, are not going to look at you unless you're already being certified. And many banks are following suit. They're looking for quality green projects that are going to fulfill their ESG requirements. And unless you have the certification, you're running the risk of not being able to find quality financing. When it comes to the last option, some of our certifiers, such as the consortium of SGS and Cintali, have a no-cost option for technical agreement. You can view this option in detail in our webinar, which is posted on YouTube. We have many options for deeper technical training, including pre-recorded online modules and live stream training. Most cost about $150. And the links to these options are also on the EDGE website. We have paused our local training for now, but hope to resume this as the pandemic lifts. IFC will extend marketing support to you to make sure that we promote your investment. This is just a short preview of what we have already done with our partners, and each of these points has a deeper case study with one of our clients. IFC also has resources for resilience. The Building Resilience Index is available again for free from our website, and the training and the promotional video are available through the Innovate for Climate platform. This is a newer product, it's still being tested, so if you're interested in collaborating with IFC in these pilot stages, please let us know and we can work with you. Before we end, we acknowledge IFC's donor partners who have made EDGE and IFC's work in green buildings possible. These governments and institutions are the reason IFC is able to offer the EDGE software application for free, as well as for our awareness raising and promotional activities. And I'll wrap up the session with a call to action. I hope we have shown you a preview of the tremendous resources that are available in order to design, invest, and incentivize green buildings. Please consider receiving technical training for your staff or your consultants. When you hire technical consultants, make sure you hire those that are already accredited by IFC. Work with IFC to launch a discovery workshop. If you're, for example, an investment client, the example from ProCredit shows how useful it is to bring that knowledge. Utilize all of our marketing materials and the case studies, and make sure that you're already utilizing incentives, or reach out to us and we will help you develop parallel incentives. Finally, request client support from IFC. It actually will not be me. This is my last week with the EDGE program. I'm moving on to a different position with IFC called Upstream. So I hope to continue working with you much more closely on the investment part, but we have a fantastic team that's going to help you out implement your projects. Thank you again for joining us today. As I said, this is a call to action to utilize EDGE resources in your sphere of influence. We hope we show you that practical steps toward green buildings and even zero carbon buildings are possible and profitable. We appreciate your interest in EDGE and hope you will join us in transforming the construction markets globally. I will take a look at now of all the questions that have come through our session, and we'll use the last 10 minutes to answer those. As a reminder, the resources will be shared very soon as the system generates the recording, and I will send you again the reminder for our survey. The survey will automatically open up once you exit the webinar. Let's see, lots of great questions have come through. Let me just take a look. Okay, I think there's a question for ProCredit. Milena, if you want to come back on video, which is, would ProCredit allow for green loans for EDGE certified projects in Africa? So I guess you can tell us a little bit more about your hopes for expansion. You mentioned 2 countries, Ecuador and Kosovo. Where else would ProCredit be working?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. As I said, we operate in Southeastern, Eastern Europe and South America, and there we would be ready to support green buildings and EDGE certified buildings. However, in Africa, we don't have operations at the moment, so I think we would not be able to do so.
Well, we have other partners. I think Milena mentioned someone like GCPF. They are funding projects across Africa through local financial institutions. And again, IFC can help you out in that work as well. Let's see, I think that was the one that came to you for now, and then I will take a look at other questions. Interesting, a lot of questions are coming from Africa about the permit rate in Ghana. So I will show you those resources are on the EDGE website. So if you go, see, I will open up the website and share my screen, where you can see the mapping of the funders working with EDGE, as well as the governments working with EDGE. So I'm back on the EDGE website, edgebuildings.com. Here, I mentioned that we have a lot of case studies around why developers should utilize EDGE. Let me just load, make this bigger. There's a lot of information here, including those case studies that I mentioned. And then if you look at governments, you can see what our government clients are doing already to promote the local market. If you're coming from a specific region, I will give you contact information for our colleagues. So we have colleagues working in Africa, working in Europe, working in Latin America, wherever you may be coming from, and we'll be able to have that ready. You can see here in Ghana, the city of Sekonde in Takoradi has a 30% reduction in the building permit fees for buildings that are being certified for green. And all of you interested in who is currently utilizing EDGE, our mapping includes only those that are incentivizing EDGE here under banks, but there are many other institutions that have worked with EDGE, everyone from global investors such as HSBC Standard Chartered, and then local investors, as well as our excellent promoters such as ProCredit, which, as I said, is launching a very generous promotion in both Kosovo and in Ecuador.
Maybe I can just jump in shortly here to say that we are just about to launch a new, I would not say incentive, but technical assistance that we are doing together with Group Green for Growth Fund, part of Finance in Motion, as well as with Consortium SGS and Sintali for Georgia. And actually, we will have a couple of free certification there, but we will share upon once it's published. It's about to be published these days.
Excellent. So there'll be a lot more information coming out.
Yes.
One of the questions that came was, is there any possible green fund in Turkey? And IFC has, in fact, already certified projects in Turkey with some very lovely information. So we can get you in touch, again, with our investment officers. We do have funding available through local financial institutions. And then IFC has funded projects directly. So you can see here, when I go on the projects pages, I can see what has been done. And if I go by Turkey, I can see here the projects that have been funded. So for example, we've done a lot of promotion around the Greenox project. There's a beautiful video on our EDGE YouTube channel that shows how exactly we have promoted, and I can open that as well. So, part of, as I said, of our marketing support is that IFC will roll out marketing based on your needs and your projects. And there are projects such as here where we've done marketing through BBC, and then lots of different, what we call Voices Supporting EDGE, where you can see lots of different examples of projects certifying. And you can view all of our webinars here and others as well. So the video for Turkey is also available here. Go back to the main website. One of the questions was around, can the costs be reduced for small SME developers with 1 to 5 houses per year? What's important to remember here is EDGE software itself is going to help you calculate the incremental cost for green construction. So you can see in this example here, this was an office building. It was about $150,000 incremental cost with 11,000 utility reduction. So it's a very quick payback period of 1 year. And you can run the software for your particular project. When it comes to the cost of certification, again, it's important to remember that IFC is not the certifier. So you would have to reach out to our certification providers. I'm not sure where you're from, but let's say I can pick something like, you can see, this is our detailed guideline for certification. We also have a module to get a quote and some modules on YouTube of watching tutorial of how to certify. If you want to talk to a certifier, let's say you're coming from Turkey, because I know a question came from there. The certification module will actually open up the links to you for our certifiers. So you can see here the pricing from GBCI and the pricing by Centali and SGS. Our certifiers do know that if you're coming back to them with multiple projects, it's considered a portfolio project. And so $10,000 per project, if all of those designs are the same, and you can do a replica of those housing, this is one of the ways that even these small SME developers can benefit and reduce their costs. But we would ask you to contact the certifiers directly and have that conversation with them. You can do that through the Get to Quote module or through the direct contact here on the certification pages. A great question came, can we use the EDGE tool for academic studies and research in sustainable development and energy transition? We absolutely invite you to do so. We have actually a program called Research and Evidence Program that our funders from the UK government are generously providing, and IFC itself is providing some research here. We have published papers in the Housing Finance International Journal, in some of the local US conferences, and we're very happy to partner with you for your own academic research and publishing. We can promote it through social media, and our technical team can help you out. One of the questions came on, does the baseline mentioned by you correspond to the near zero European standard for green building for the EU taxonomy? And the answer is yes. In the EDGE version 3, we have worked very closely through our partners from the European Investment Bank and European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We've made very sure that these things are utilized in the processes, and that the EDGE baseline includes local policy practices. So obviously in the European countries, in the EU, I should say countries, it is a little bit harder to get to EDGE, whereas in some of the other countries in Africa or even in Eastern Europe or Bosnia, it's going to be a lot easier. So again, our technical team can help work with you and help you understand how that standard can be reached. The Edge version 3 is here. It includes all of those upgrades. It is currently in beta testing for another month. So if you see glitches, obviously those are to be expected. I'm very interested in all of our colleagues from Zambia and Africa and Ghana joining. So there is information for certifiers across the world. Edge is a fully global program. It can be used anywhere in the world, even now in the US, UK, and Africa. And again, you can take a look at our existing countries here through the list of certifying partners. You can find your country here. If you're looking to see who has been who's an Edge expert that's available, Edge experts are a global resource. They don't have to be residing in the particular country, but we have done some training with the Zambian government, and I've traveled myself. Lusaka is a beautiful country. It actually reminded me a lot of Bosnia. And there might be experts that are already available. If they're not, again, I showed you how you can get trained, and as soon as our website launches, I will show you how to find that information here. Let's see if we have current folks. So we don't have an expert in Zambia, but we have them in surrounding countries. So I know we have a lot of folks in Kenya, where we had a great relationship with the local Green Building Council, and out of South Africa, which again is the case. So I will, when I follow up with this webinar, I will include links to our colleagues across the world so that you can contact them. And again, if you're interested in getting trained yourself, the training is available here, and the links to available training are available here. A great question came on what arrangements do you have with mortgage lenders in the UK, which might make mortgage loans to end house buyers more attractive. We actually have only recently started expanding in Europe, and so our presence in the UK isn't that strong. But we're happy to do additional education and do some of these developer workshops. As I said, we have collaborated with HSBC on their projects in other parts of the world, and we're looking to advise them on their projects in the UK as well. But our presence in the Western Europe is slower because we have not done that before. Let's see. How can advisors get to be IFC certified consultants for the Edge program? And so I mentioned here, you can access that through the training here. There's a training is usually either a full day if we do it in person, or 2 half days if it's online. And there are pre-recorded modules that you can utilize. And so you can that's the way to become an Edge advisor. Eventually, you then get accredited after you pass the Edge exam. Let's see, what are the Edge stats in Europe? Which countries have Edge certified? You can find it through our, I'm already on the projects pages. So you can see here, we have a lot of projects in Bulgaria, Romania, and let's see, I have Lithuania, Bulgaria, but we're, as I said, only just getting started. So we have excellent relationships with the Green Building Councils of Bulgaria, Romania, Croatia now, Serbia, and others. And so we invite you to really work with us to develop the awareness around these processes. Our work in Europe is fairly new. We have done a lot more work in other emerging markets. A great question on, aside from the website, who can we email for more information on how to access green bonds? I will send info on different people in different countries. You can reach out to your local Edge representative, or on our YouTube channel under the webinars, you can actually see that we have done an excellent training. Maybe these webinars get retired. I'll have to figure out how to look at the entire playlist. There we go. We have done excellent training with the Climate Bonds initiative called Green Bonds for Green Buildings. And you can see here lots more information happening here. Our partner is the Climate Bonds initiative, and they'll be able to give you more information. Let's see. There's a lot of interesting questions around green funds. They're asking funds to us. Again, we will show you how you can access information through your local EDGE representative. IFC does have some limited ability to invest directly in projects in Europe. We are constrained by our own mission toward development. So our investment officers will have to find out exactly who they will need to, who those projects will need to work with. But the EDGE app does connect investors and projects, because you can actually self-disclose that you're looking for financing. That information is here. You can see here, if you want to share your project with investors or banks, you can self-select this information. And then once investors ask us for info, we can send that information back to them. These are all great questions, but we are running out of time. I will actually let the webinar run a little bit longer to encourage you all to ask questions. And I'll send you again the reminder to fill out our survey. But I want to thank you all. This was a really great session. There was about 100 people that have participated. Many more who had registered maybe were not able to attend. Many, many thanks to our colleague Milena, who is really the pioneer in the work in Europe. If you are a developer working with your financiers, please introduce them to us. We will educate them around EDGE. And if you're an investor, lender, institutional investor working in this project, again, please reach out to us. We will show you how to launch green investment products. So thank you again for spending your time with us. I will let the webinar run from here on, and you're welcome to ask any more questions. Whatever we don't get to, I will send in a Q&A. Thanks a lot.